The truth about good people no one talks about. They say good people make the world a better place. But what if I told you that behind every gentle smile, there's a quiet scream no one hears? What if kindness isn't always a gift, but sometimes a wound that never heals? Because the truth is, the ones who carry everyone else's pain are often the ones who have no one to carry theirs. They are the healers, the listeners, the ones who stay even when it hurts. But there's a side of goodness the world never talks about. A side where the heart becomes tired and the soul begins to fade. This is the story of those who give too much, love too deeply, and break silently, while everyone else calls them strong. Tonight, we uncover the truth about the good people that no one ever really sees. The tired heart. They called her a good person, always smiling, always helping, the kind of soul who showed up when others disappeared. But what no one ever asked was how much it cost her to stay that kind. Her name was Clara, and for most of her life, she believed that being kind was her purpose. That saying yes when everyone else said no made her different, special, worthy. But what happens when kindness becomes a cage? It started quietly, like most heartbreaks do. A friend who only called when she needed something. A coworker who took credit for her work. A family member who said, "You're the strong one, you can handle it." And so, Clara handled it. Again and again. She smiled through exhaustion. She laughed through loneliness. She said, "I'm fine," even when her chest felt like it was breaking. Because that's what good people do, right? They hold everything together, even when no one notices they're falling apart. Every night, Clara sat in the same corner of her small apartment, a cup of cold coffee beside her, and a silence that felt heavier than stone. She didn't understand why she felt so empty. After all, she was doing everything right. She was helping. She was loving. She was good. But deep down, she started to realize something no one ever told her. That being good all the time can quietly destroy you. One evening, after another long day of giving pieces of herself away, she looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her eyes, once full of light, were now tired, dull, lifeless. Her reflection whispered what her voice never could. "You are disappearing." And that night, for the first time, Clara didn't pray for strength. She prayed to feel seen. The truth about good people is this: the world gets used to them. People stop asking if they're okay, because they always seem okay. But inside, there's a storm. A quiet exhaustion that kindness alone can't cure. Clara's breaking point came in a small, ordinary moment. Someone she loved deeply looked at her and said, "You'll figure it out. You always do." It was meant as a compliment, but it landed like a knife. Because in that instant, she realized no one saw her pain anymore. They only saw her strength. That night, she sat in the dark and cried silently, afraid that if she made a sound, the world would remind her that she had no right to be tired. And through her tears came the thought that would change everything. Maybe being good doesn't mean giving everything away. Maybe it means learning when to stop bleeding for people who never notice the wounds. The next morning, Clara didn't become bitter. She didn't stop caring. But something in her heart shifted. For the first time, she understood that kindness without boundaries isn't kindness, it's surrender. And that day, as the sunlight touched her face, she whispered to herself, softly but firmly, "I can still be good without losing myself." Because sometimes, the bravest thing a good person can do is finally take care of themselves. The loneliness of those who care too much. There's a kind of loneliness that has nothing to do with being alone. It's the silence that follows when you've spent your life listening to everyone else. Clara knew that silence well. It lived inside her like a second heartbeat. She had always been the one people turned to. The friend who answered messages at 2 a.m. The daughter who fixed everything without complaint. The coworker who said, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." And in return, she got quiet thank yous that faded as quickly as they came. No one stayed long enough to notice that she, too, was breaking. There's an invisible rule the world teaches good people. You're not allowed to need what you give. You can comfort others, but don't ask for comfort. You can carry someone else's pain, but never drop your own. And so, they keep it inside. The sadness, the fatigue, the questions that never find answers. Clara learned to wear her smile like armor, bright enough to convince others she was fine, thick enough to hide the emptiness behind it. One evening, she sat in a cafe by the window, watching strangers laugh, feeling like a ghost in a world that no longer saw her. A couple held hands. A group of friends took pictures, smiling wide. And Clara just watched. She wondered how something as pure as caring could make a person feel so invisible. Because when you care too much, you start to disappear behind everyone else's happiness. The loneliness of good people isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It seeps in quietly, in the small moments. When your phone stays silent after you send a long message. When you give your heart and get half smiles in return. When you realize that people love the way you make them feel, but rarely love you. And maybe that's the cruelest part. People don't mean to hurt the ones who care too much. They just get used to the comfort, to the light, to the peace that good hearts bring. They forget that behind every strong soul is someone silently asking, "Would anyone notice if I stopped trying?" That night, Clara lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet, but her mind wasn't. She thought about every person she had helped, every moment she gave when she had nothing left, and realized no one ever asked her why she was always there. The truth hit hard. She was afraid that if she stopped being useful, she would stop being loved. That's the unspoken fear of many good people, that their worth exists only in what they give away. But somewhere in that darkness, a new thought began to bloom inside her chest. If my kindness isolates me, then maybe it's time to learn how to care for myself, the way I care for everyone else. The realization didn't fix everything. It didn't erase the loneliness, but it gave her something she hadn't felt in a long time. A small, quiet kind of strength. Clara looked out her window at the empty street below. The city lights flickered like distant stars, and for the first time, she didn't feel the need to fix the world. She just wanted to rest, because even those who care the most deserve to be held, to be seen, to be loved, without having to earn it. Sometimes, the loneliest people are the ones who make sure no one else ever feels alone. Chapter 3. When kindness becomes a prison. There comes a moment when even the purest heart begins to tremble. When every yes feels heavier than the last. When kindness, once a choice, starts to feel like a sentence. Clara had reached that point. 4 years, she had lived by one silent rule: be good, no matter what. But that rule had turned into chains she couldn't see. Chains made of guilt, fear, and expectation. She didn't notice it happening. It started small. The pressure to always be understanding, to never say no, to always forgive, even when it hurt. Every time she put someone else first, a small piece of her disappeared. And no one noticed, because the world only sees the light, never the fire that keeps it burning. Clara thought being kind meant being patient, but patience, in the wrong hands, becomes permission. And kindness, when misunderstood, becomes control. She had let people walk through her heart like it was open ground, believing that love meant endurance. But endurance without limits is not love. It's survival. There's a lie hidden inside every good girl story. Every message that says, be humble, be nice, be selfless. It sounds beautiful until you realize how easily it can erase you. Because kindness without boundaries doesn't make the world better. It just teaches others that your pain doesn't matter. Clara began to feel it in her body before she understood it in her mind. The headaches, the tension in her chest, the exhaustion that no sleep could fix. Her body was whispering what her voice never dared to say. I can't keep doing this. One evening, she helped someone again. Someone who had hurt her before. Someone who never said thank you. As she walked home, rain falling softly on her shoulders. She felt nothing. No anger. No peace. Just emptiness. And that scared her more than the pain ever did. Because when you give too much for too long, you don't just lose your energy. You lose your sense of self. Clara stood at her window, watching the water slide down the glass. And for the first time, she admitted it aloud. I'm tired of being good if it means never being free. That sentence felt dangerous, liberating, real. It was the moment she understood what no one ever teaches. That goodness can be weaponized, used by others to keep you quiet, compliant, small. And that's when kindness becomes a prison. A place where you hold the key but forget you're allowed to leave. The world loves people like Clara. The peacemakers, the givers, the ones who always forgive. But few ever ask what it costs them to stay that way. And behind every calm smile, there's a history of battles no one applauded, of sacrifices no one saw. That night, Clara made a promise to herself. She wouldn't stop being kind, but she would stop being silent. She would start choosing herself, even if it made others uncomfortable. Because true kindness doesn't come from obedience. It comes from freedom. And freedom begins the moment you stop apologizing for protecting your own heart. Kindness is beautiful, but without boundaries, it can slowly become the most elegant form of self-destruction. Chapter 4: The Dark Side of Kindness. No one ever warns you that kindness has a shadow. That even light, when stretched too far, begins to burn. For years, Clara had lived by the belief that love could heal everything. But somewhere along the way, love had turned into obligation. And obligation had turned into exhaustion. She had been the helper, the listener, the forgiver, the one who held everyone's pain but had no space for her own. Until one day, something inside her changed. It wasn't loud. It didn't look like anger. It was quieter, a deep, tired ache that whispered, I don't want to do this anymore. That's the dark side of kindness. It doesn't explode. It erodes. It turns warmth into numbness, compassion into resentment. Clara started to notice it in the smallest things. A heavy sigh before answering the phone. A hollow smile when someone said, You're such a good person. A quiet dread every time she was needed again. She was becoming what she never thought she could be. Cold, detached, silent. But that coldness wasn't cruelty. It was self-defense. The world often mistakes the exhaustion of good people for change of character. But the truth is simpler. They're not becoming bad. They're becoming empty. Because when you give endlessly without being refilled, even the brightest soul begins to dim. Clara used to believe that goodness meant patience, that forgiveness made her stronger. But now, she realized something darker. Sometimes, forgiveness keeps you chained to the people who broke you. And when you live like that for too long, the light inside doesn't just fade, it turns into fire. She felt it one night, a quiet rage rising in her chest. Not against anyone in particular, but against herself. for allowing the world to take so much from her. That's the hidden truth behind many good hearts. The anger isn't about others. It's about the moment they realize they were the ones who left their own hearts unguarded. Clara began to see how her kindness had been used as currency. People traded her empathy for convenience. They praised her warmth but ignored her pain. And now, she was done. The moment she started setting boundaries, the same people who once called her angel began to call her selfish. That's how the world punishes those who stop bleeding for it. Because to others, a good person who says no looks like a betrayal, when in truth, it's salvation. Clara began to see her reflection again, not as a savior, not as a sacrifice, but as a woman learning to live without apology. She realized that her anger wasn't evil. It was her soul's way of demanding balance. The ones who burn out from kindness don't need to be softer. They need to be seen. And in that realization, the fire inside her finally calmed. Not because the world changed, but because she did. The dark side of kindness isn't hatred. It's heartbreak. It's the moment a good soul finally whispers, "I deserve to feel safe too." Chapter 5. The Redemption of Gentle Hearts. Morning arrived quietly. Golden light spilled across the floor, touching the same room that had once held Clara's tears. But this time, it felt different. For the first time in years, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt sacred. Clara sat by the window with a cup of warm tea, watching the city awaken. The same world that once drained her now looked softer, slower, almost kind, because she had finally learned something that every gentle heart must one day understand. Being good is not about giving everything away. It's about giving without disappearing. She used to believe that love meant sacrifice, that kindness meant saying yes, no matter how much it hurt. But now, she knew the truth. Love without boundaries is self-erasure. Kindness without balance is quiet self-destruction. The world had taken pieces of her for so long that she forgot she was allowed to keep some for herself. And so, Clara began the slow work of becoming whole again. She started small. She said no when her body was tired. She walked away from conversations that drained her. She stopped explaining her softness to people who only knew how to take. Each act of self-respect felt foreign at first, then liberating. Because the moment you stop begging to be understood, you start hearing your own voice again. Clara discovered that self-care wasn't selfish. It was sacred. It was a rebellion against the idea that good people must always be available. She found joy in stillness, in cooking for herself, in long walks without her phone, in silence that healed instead of hurt. The same heart that once broke under the weight of others was now learning to beat freely, without apology. And for the first time, she didn't want to save anyone. She just wanted to live, fully, gently, honestly. The redemption of gentle hearts doesn't come through revenge or bitterness. It comes through understanding, through realizing that your compassion was never the problem. The problem was forgetting that you deserve it too. And when good people finally learn to love themselves with the same patience they give to others, the world doesn't just get brighter, it gets balanced. Clara stood at her door, ready to face the day. Her reflection looked different now, not because she had become harder, but because she had finally become whole. Her eyes still held kindness, but this time, it wasn't desperation. It was peace. You can be soft and still be strong. You can forgive and still have limits. You can care deeply without carrying everyone. That is the redemption of the gentle ones. They don't lose their light. They learn to protect it. Because the world doesn't need people who burn themselves to keep others warm. It needs people who burn brightly and still know how to rest. Conclusion: the light they deserve. They say the world needs more good people. And it's true. But what the world forgets is that even the kindest souls need a place to rest. Clara's story is not just hers. It belongs to every quiet heart that ever gave too much, to every soul that loved until it ached, to every person who smiled while secretly breaking. The truth is simple. Good people are not infinite. Their light is precious. And when the world keeps taking without giving back, that light begins to fade. We celebrate kindness, but rarely protect it. We praise strength, but forget to comfort it. And so, the gentle ones, the healers, the helpers, the givers, learn to hide their pain behind soft eyes and quiet voices, until one day, they can't anymore. But here's the beauty no one talks about. Even after breaking, good hearts don't stay shattered. They rebuild, wiser, calmer, stronger. They learn that love is not measured by sacrifice, and that saying no is not cruelty. It's survival. They learn that the same hands that hold others deserve to hold themselves, and that is the true redemption of goodness. Not in saving the world, but in saving yourself first. So, if you are one of them, one of the quiet souls who give more than they should, this is for you. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not cold for choosing peace. You are human, and your heart, still kind, still gentle, still alive, deserves the same care you give to everyone else. Because in the end, the truth about good people is not that they never break, but that even after breaking, they still choose to shine. And sometimes, that light is enough to heal the whole world.